Now I'm turned on. Hi, I'm Reverend Rebecca Luter, the pastor here at Farmington Presbyterian, and I am glad that you are joining us for this month's parenting seminar for those families who are parents of preschoolers getting ready for kindergarten. We are talking this month about social emotional learning. It's the process of developing self-awareness and self-control and interpersonal skills that are vital for functioning in a group, whether that's at school or at work or just in general in life. People with strong social emotional skills are better able to cope with life's everyday challenges, and they have what employers call soft skills. They know how to get along with other people. And so they get along better in the workplace. They interact and relate with their bosses, with their employees, with their clients, and with their friends in a healthy way. Social emotional learning begins in preschool, and it starts right when your child enters the front doors at Farmington. They come in, and Miss Rory or Miss Leanne greet them and make eye contact and say, "Good morning, how are you today?" And they teach the children how to say good morning or good afternoon back to them and to answer them. That's the first step in social emotional learning, is beginning to know how to relate with other people. By the time a child gets to kindergarten, they are expected to do 4 things related to social emotional learning. The first thing is they are expected to be able to ask for help. We've all seen a 3-year-old have a full-on meltdown. And it's most of the time because they've gotten frustrated. They didn't know how to ask for help as they were beginning to get frustrated. And so one of the things that we teach here at Farmington is how to ask for help, to notice that you're getting frustrated and to ask a teacher for help. The next thing is for them to be able to take turns. We get excited sometimes, and we all go, me, 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 me. But when we're preschoolers, we don't even know to raise our hands yet, and we don't know to try to get the teacher's attention yet. We just start in as soon as we get excited, blurting out what we want to share. And so we have to learn to take turns in a group so that we are able to all hear and all learn together. The next thing we need to learn is how to be kind, how to think of the other person and consider how we would want to be treated in treating the other person in the same way. Having empathy, understanding that other people have feelings too, and then interacting with others in a positive way. So those are the things that your kindergartner will be able to do or be expected to do when they go to kindergarten. So how do we make sure that children succeed and are ready to succeed in kindergarten and in life? We learn social emotional skills a lot like we learn how to ride a bicycle. It starts out with someone getting some gear together. We have to get our pads on. We have to understand what we're talking about in terms of social emotional learning. And so the first thing is for us to begin to have a vocabulary to talk about our own feelings. When we learn to ride a bike, somebody supports us and helps us balance as we practice. And sometimes we fall. And the same thing happens with social emotional learning. Sometimes we mess up. And our teachers help us work through how to do better next time. Because somebody coaches us through getting up and brushing off and trying again. Practice, try again, practice, try again. But just like when we learn to ride a bicycle, once we learn social emotional skills, we never forget them. They are part of us forever. And so the first thing we start learning is to identify our emotions. What does someone look like when they're happy or scared or sad or mad? What does that feel like? Those are things that your children don't automatically know. And so it's important to label their feelings as they're experiencing them. And so one of the things we do is we ask questions like, which person is happy? And we show children 2 pictures. Emotions shared through facial expressions are universal. Most of our communication is nonverbal. In fact, between 70 and 90% of what we are receiving from someone else's communication comes from their body language and their facial expressions. And so we begin by expanding the conversation beyond which child looks happy, which if we can agree that this child looks happy and this child looks not quite so happy, we would say, can you name all the ways that little boy looks like he might be feeling? Well, he might look like he's mad. He might look like he's sad. He might look like he's frustrated. He might look angry. He might look worried. And all of those are vocabulary words for your children to learn about social emotional feelings. This little girl, we might ask, what other things might she be? She's happy. Maybe she's excited. Maybe she has joy. Maybe she's feeling playful. Maybe she's interested in something. And then we embed conversations about feelings in life throughout our day. When we're playing and a child has a puppet, we might say to them, can you make that puppet say something like they're scared? Can you make a scared face? And then we might ask, what do you think that he's scared of? And then we let the child take the conversation from there. The same thing we can do with dolls, we can do with stuffed animals, we can do with plastic animals as we play. We read books about our feelings. Books like, I was so mad. We talk about colors in art, and then we talk about how they make us feel. When you paint with yellow, how does that make you feel? Why do you choose yellow? Is it because you feel happy or sunny? Do you use blue because you're feeling sad or because you're feeling calm? Or are you using red because you're excited or because you're mad? Those kinds of conversations help children identify their own emotions. And then they are ready to begin to learn how to interact with other people. Interacting with others is embedded automatically through their entire preschool day, often in unstructured ways, like on the playground, or in centers in their classroom. They learn to take turns. They learn that only 2 people are supposed to be in this center at a time, and you have to wait until someone else is finished with their time. Or at snack or lunchtime or nap time, they learn what it means to sit down at the table and stay seated through the meal, to have a conversation around the table, to wait on someone to come and open containers that they might not be able to open. And then there's also interaction during structured time. Circle time every morning, art, music, Spanish, chapel, and I realized that I left science off, science as well. And even transitions and in the hallways. You might notice that your children are learning how to line up and walk down the hallway quietly. Those are important social, emotional learnings. To keep their hands to themselves, to not push their friends, to not yell out as they move down the hallway, how to respect their own personal space and respect the personal space of others. Because the next thing that we learn is about respect for ourselves and for others. The best way we can teach that is through the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. To ask children, how would you like to be treated? It helps children think about how they deserve to be treated, and it respects the unique, individual, unrepeatable miracles that each child is. And it helps them think about how amazing and wonderful they are and how amazing and wonderful their friends are as well. There are posters and in the classrooms and pictures. The books that are used and the dolls and the toys are intentionally chosen to expose children to other cultures and traditions, to diverse people and groups. The Kitchen Center has boxes of food from other cultures. In fact, I always bring in my samosas from Trader Joe's and my egg rolls, so that children understand that not everybody eats the same things, and that's okay. And they might ask, what is this? I'm interested in this. It also allows children who are from other cultures to feel very at home here. Children are encouraged to show and share their own family traditions, to talk about how they celebrate holidays at their houses, and to share those celebrations with their friends. Conversations are also modeled. Often our children don't know how to interact with one another, and sometimes it's in those unstructured places like on the playground, and we have to come alongside them as teachers and say, what should you say? And wait for them to think of what they should say, or help them with, I think maybe you should say, I'm sorry. Or maybe you should say, please may I have a turn? Or maybe you should say, thank you for sharing the ball with me. What would be a good response? Maybe you should ask, are you okay when somebody falls down or when you accidentally bump somebody over? Or can I help when you see that someone is struggling? So modeling conversations and helping children have those kinds of interactions is part of social emotional learning. And then the final thing that we learn is self-control. We all have times that we get overwhelmed, that we get frustrated, and part of what we learn in social emotional teaching is how to calm down, how to moderate our own emotions. Your child's classroom has a center for calming, and it has fidgets in it and soft toys and a comfortable seat. Our visual that we often use with preschoolers is a turtle. Sometimes we need to pull back in our shell until we are ready to have our head out where everyone can see it. We help children identify when they need some quiet, when they're getting overwhelmed, when they're tempted to throw something or hit somebody. We offer other ways to channel that emotion, maybe to let that physical energy out in a healthy way. We might say, when we go outside today, it might feel good for you to run really hard. Or why don't we stop right now and do 10 jumping jacks and see if that makes us feel better? Or we might take a wad of paper and say, here's a wad of paper. Let's see how far across the room you can throw it. All of those ways are ways sometimes for us to get that energy out, and then we're able to calm down. One of my favorite things with my children was a settle down jar, and we used it a lot at bedtime. But it helps us focus on something to settle down. It's just water and oil and some glitter and a little bit of food coloring in a used jar. This is a sparkling water jar. So you can make your own settle down jar for your child, but they have ways in their classrooms as well to settle down, to calm down. And you might talk with your children about ways that you calm down when you're upset. My children know if I take a deep breath that I might be thinking about something that is upsetting to me. And they'll say, is everything okay? Is something upsetting you? And sometimes I just need a deep breath. And I say, well, I just took a deep breath. And they're like, well, but you do that when you are getting upset. And I do, but sometimes I just take a deep breath. It's important for our children to be able to identify our own ways of calming ourselves and to be sensitive to other people and their need to be respected and to have space. We will only succeed in kindergarten and in life if we can function in a group. And so we want your children to not just be able to teeter along on a bike, but to fly down the road. And so social emotional learning lays the groundwork for that incredible feeling of being free on the bike and just riding in the beautiful fall air. Thanks for joining us.